don't know if the story is in here anywhere about the brazing, and
That was a 1 week one.
that was a 1 week wonder of they tried something new. Tom, you learned about brazing.
Well, the English guys down at Shelby's, they had a lot of English race mechanics, and the English used mild steel, and they used some kind of nickel bronze to braze the things together, and they had a flux pot that fit in the acetylene line, and it made the flame be green, and the flux was right in the flame, right? And we saw this in action. We thought, boy, that is cool, because gas welding 4130, it does these pops and it sets your hair on fire. It's just a mess, right?
Leaves a little hole, yeah.
Yeah, it burns holes in your head. I just take a wet T-shirt and tie it around my head.
Wow.
All kinds of stuff, just to do gas welding.
Right.
We thought, boy, this is going to be cool, right? So we get the flux pot thing, get her all set up. And so we're going to front half this thing. I don't know what happened to why we were going to front half it. So we go down to Washington Hardware, the surplus joint down on Washington Boulevard. We buy some of this 4130X, the Korean War tubing, which LA was full of.
And I just learned the story on that. This is not good tubing.
Well, we thought it was.
Well, everybody thought it was. This is surplus tubing that was made, but it was made incorrectly. They didn't put all the correct additives in the steel. So it's not good. It was originally built to be used in the war for airplanes. But
it was made during the Korean War because there was a shortage of some ingredient.
But it was not legal. The government wouldn't let them use it in airplanes. So there was plenty of it to be used.
That's why the surplus stores still had it, because the airplane guys couldn't buy it and use it. So I don't know about but almost everybody that built their own stuff bought 4130X, and LA was full of it.
Huh.
Anyway, so we go down, we get a load of that tubing. Well, we got us a plan. No, we didn't have the little flux pot, so we went over to South Pasadena. A friend of ours that was also worked at Shelby's, he raced sports cars, and we went over to his mom's house, and we front halved it in the driveway in 1 day.
Wow.
Boy, it went quick, and boy, it looked cool, and man, this is the stuff, right? So get her done, take her back to the Red Apple, get it all screwed together. Boy, that was easy. Boy, that's wonderful. We really got the deal here, right? So we're going to Fontana on Saturday. So Saturday, we drive out to Fontana. We get to Fontana. We go to take it off the trailer, and all the little zigzaggy upright things on the sides between the frame rails, all that stuff is leaving.
Uh-oh.
And the brass stuff, the tubing is undamaged. The brass stuff leaves. All there is like a little color.
A little mark where it was.
So it's only hooked to the scale. The scale comes out of the metal, and the stuff latches onto the scale. Well, the scale leaves the tubing, right? And that stuff on the side is highly loaded because of the way the leverage tool works, right? Oh, dear, this is grim. So the engine is sinking. And we got the engine down a ways anyway. So now the blower pulley is heading for the ground, right? And we're going, this is not good. So we round up 2x4s and hose clamps. Pretty soon we've got all the 2x4s and all the hose clamps in the whole pit area from everybody, right? And we take and lift the front of the car up and put the front of the engine on something, drop it down, and then use the wood and the hose clamps, and we're just kind of
stiffen up the frame.
Stiffen this frame up, right? And so we qualify, and we run the first round, second round. We keep doing more of this, right? And we're gathering hose clamps and wood. And when Mike touches the brake, the blower pulley goes into the ground. It grinds on the blower belt, right? We only had one blower belt to spare, and because we used no idler, we had a different length belt than anybody else, right? So you can't borrow a belt. So we're down to our last belt, So we told Mike, you can't hit the brakes.
You can't hit the
Excuse
brakes.
me?
Unless, if it's a drone, I mean, if something bad happens, you're going to have to hit the brakes. But otherwise, you can't hit the brakes because then we won't have a blower belt and we can't continue,
Right.
even if you do win. He says, okay, no problem, right? And Fontana had a lot of shutdown, right? And I think by this time
you
they
can roll it out. Yeah.
were probably on the 2 parachute deal, I
Yeah.
would imagine. Anyway, so no problem. And so more rounds, more wood, more hose clamps. And so we win the event, right? And didn't kill anybody, which, I mean, when you think about that whole story, that is dumb.
I can't
right?
believe Mike got in that car and drove it.
He didn't. I mean, his son says he cared, but he didn't appear to care at all to us.
Yeah,
And
right.
yet he told other people that he thought he was going to die every time he got in it,
Yeah.
which is probably more, shows he was realistic.
Yeah.
Right?
Man.
Anyway, so that was a 1 week wonder on the front, and that was the end of us in the racing, right?
Yeah.
Turns out that on mild steel, the brass hooks onto the steel. Well, on the 4130, you know how it has that brown coating?
Mhm.
That's scale of some kind. And we didn't clean that stuff off.
Oh.
Or I don't know the cleaning it would have done or where the heat brings it out.
Right.
But we were hooked on to the brown part,
Right.
not to the steel part.
Jeez.
Now you've made a name for yourself, because once you make a name for yourself, they start offering you things. You raced the Bonneville Avenger Jet in a 2 out of 3 match race at Fontana. Now, not just anybody got a match race, but everybody that was somebody. So now you've reached the top in the somebody list. What do you remember about racing the Jet?
We were looking forward to that. That'd be great fun because you had to get to a certain point in your little career before you could get invited. And then we knew from the others that had already done it that the Jet, it took off slowly, and so you'd get out, the dragster would get out ahead of it. But then when the Jet came by, he was going about 100 miles an hour faster at the other end, and it would fill your engine full of rocks. And so the driver of the dragster would have to, as soon as he could even sense that the thing was coming, to shut the throttle off so that the big rocks wouldn't go in. Maybe the little rocks, but at least the big ones wouldn't get in. And I don't remember who won and lost, but
Well, you won the 2 out of 3 match. Won round 1 and round 3. Here's a picture you can show that shows that exact thing you were talking about.
you can just see the back end of.
Here you are, long gone.
Long
Yeah.
gone. And Bob Tatro is just getting a round up.
Yeah.
But on the round that one round, the afterburner didn't light, which is they were all about. That's where the power came from on those. But you won 2 out of 3 legitimately.
I got to ask you a question. When you lengthened the front end, did you keep the leaf springs or did you move to torsion at that time? I know you got there eventually.
That I couldn't tell you on the first one. I don't even remember why we lengthened it. Usually it was because we damaged it, and then whatever was currently in favor for the length, because nowadays, what are they, 300 inches?
300. And they had to put a rule in to stop, but that had been longer. They were just continuing, yeah.
Yeah, so the rule limits it to 300 now. But when we started, I think it was 128 inches. And then whatever was sort of the current fad, so when you lengthened it, you just made it that length, whatever length that was. But we had to make sure it would still fit in our garage. So our upper limit turned out to be about 167 or something. The longest we ever had it was 167.
And once you got to that, there's a story about it didn't quite fit the Red Apple garage.
Yeah, there was a push bar on the back. When we rolled it in the garage, it poked a hole in the wall. It came out between a water faucet and a Coke machine on the other side.
Which was the
custom-
main office, right?
No, it was just an area that all the people that stayed at the motel
Oh.
could use, with some vending machines and things.
And when Mrs. Skinner found out, what did she do? Anything?
Nah, she didn't care.
She didn't
She
care.
was wonderful.
But the patrons of the motel at night, the hole got broken out a little bit bigger because each time you backed it, so the hole got to be bigger. And so here's this chrome thing sticking through a wall, and there's a light around it, and they can hear voices. And they didn't know what to make of that, so they would walk around the end of the building and down the alley, and then come around and look in the garage to see what was making this noise and what would explain this chrome
Beautiful.
Thing sticking through
thing
the
that
wall.
stuck through the wall.
That's
Love
perfect.
that. And Mr. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mrs. Skinner never said a word about
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
No.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
phase her.
And Mr. Prieto, if you have any thoughts about any of this, you let us know.
She was a very tolerant mother.
Very tolerant.
Yes. Good job.
Beginning to get on my nerves. Who are those guys?